Well guys, there it is, Porsche's very first all-electric car, the 2020 Porsche Taycan. Yeah, it's spelled Taycan but pronounced Taycan Turbo S. And in this video we're going to go over all the important numbers, how fast it is, how much it costs, and can it take on a Tesla Model S in Ludicrous mode in the quarter mile. Plus we'll look under the hood, show you the interior, and tell you about all the groundbreaking tech that Porsche has brought to their very first EV. And that is coming up right now, so let's get started. All right, let's start with the interesting tech, the stuff that makes it unique in the electric car world. First and foremost, it is of course all-wheel drive, and it has two electric motors, one in the front and one in the back. But here's where things get interesting. The one in the back has a 2-speed transmission, which means the first gear is set up for quick accelerations. 0 to 60, Porsche says, in about 2.7, 2.6 seconds. That's fast. Now, unlike other electric cars, the Taycan has an 800-volt system, whereas most have a 400-volt system, which means it's got plenty of power. And by the way, that second gear is for continuous and hopefully top speed running with a top speed of over 160 miles an hour. Now, quarter mile times, well, they're fast. You guys know that the Tesla Model S in Ludicrous mode will run a quarter mile in about 10.7, 10.8 seconds. Porsche says the Taycan Turbo S will do it in the same amount of time. So I can't wait to see that video.
Importantly for us, it's repeatable performance. It's got the right kinds of thermal management systems to ensure that it'll be able to deliver that performance time and time again over varied conditions. And it's not just the one-trick pony. You can do that over and over.
Yeah, I mean, what you're talking about there is a Tesla Model S in Ludicrous mode, right? You got to warm up the battery, get it going. With this vehicle, you're saying you can do that 0 to 60 time in under 3 seconds, over and over again,
Exactly. You just put it in Sport Plus. Anyone who's ever driven a Porsche with the Sport Chrono package or any of our top GT models knows how to activate launch control, which is simply left foot down all the way, right foot down all the way to let you know, hey, launch control active, release the brake, and you're off and running.
Whether you like it or not, the frunk has become a thing with electric cars because obviously there's no engine here. It allows for space. Now, Porsche's frunk is about the length of my forearm, so it's not huge, but at the same time, it's probably good enough for a helmet, maybe a small picnic lunch. But let's see how much room is in the back, because that's where you get a lot more space. So here's your traditional trunk, and this of course is a sedan. Why Porsche went with a sedan for their all-electric car, that's a good question. I may have gone with a crossover, but Porsche says that there is a crossover coming, as well as an all-electric Macan. Obviously you're starting out with a 4-door sedan, but there's also a crossover coming, and then a Macan electric. So you've announced those already.
We've already announced those, but Cross Turismo and the Macan battery electric, those will be coming down the pipe. So yeah, well, as you heard Detlev Platten say, we have a commitment to have, or we hope to get 50% of our model lineup to be EVs.
Now guys, a lot of you may be thinking electric cars are a fad. They're not going to really take over the world. Well, keep this in mind. Porsche chose to unveil the new Taycan here at Niagara Falls because obviously they're talking about hydroelectric power. But they also did it at the same time in Germany near a wind farm, and of course in China near a solar array. So think about how important it is for Porsche to have a car that's unveiled in 3 different continents at the same time. It kind of signifies what electric cars are about and how important they are, at least to this manufacturer. It's deep. I mean, I can't touch the back of it, but it's not very tall. So you could probably get a couple of sets of golf clubs in here. 911 Turbo, now Taycan Turbo. Why the turbo name?
Well, for us, I mean, I don't need to beat around the bush anymore. All of our 911s are turbocharged, so it kind of, for us, alleviates the need to distinguish the engine induction methodology, if you will. So for us, turbo and Turbo S mean the top model. They're the top dogs in the lineup.
Yeah.
That's all it is, and I think it's very easy, and most consumers really accept that very
There's
quickly.
no turbo under there. There's
No.
no traditional turbo.
No traditional turbo, but I think consumers will easily be able to understand exactly where the Taycan Turbo and Turbo S sit in the model lineup.
Now that is, of course, the top of the line, right?
Yeah,
the Turbo
top dog.
S. So it starts at about 150,000. Will there be a cheaper version of that?
We're not saying anything now, but if you cruise through our corporate website, you can kind of guess what our product strategy is.
Taycan Turbo, Taycan Turbo S. It seems like yeah.
Your words, not mine.
Okay, all right. All right, guys, let's rev up your Porsche. Never mind, you can't rev up your Porsche engine because there is no Porsche engine, but there is a completely new and different infotainment system. And if you look, Tesla, of course, has redesigned and redone the way that you interact with the car. And now the more, let's call them legacy automakers are catching on. So I've got not one, not two, not three, but actually 4 different infotainment displays. So in front of me, of course, I have all the important information. My battery, my speed, and of course, how much range I have. Over here, that's where all the fun stuff lives. Of course, the radio, the air, the HVAC. That's down here where it's easy to get to. I do have not one, but 2 cup holders with, I hope that's a coin tray and not a cigarette receptacle, because this interior has no animal products. That's right. You can get an optional non-leather interior, and that's what I'm sitting in. So if you guys are vegan through and through, Porsche has thought of that. And they've also thought of the passenger. For the first time ever, you can get a display in front of the passenger, which in this case displays navigation. So the passenger will not only know where you're going, but they'll know when you're going to get there because the navigation is right in front of them. By the way, if you have ever driven a Model 3, you'll be very familiar with these controls where you can actually control where the airflow is going on the screen. That's a really cool little feature. Porsche has done so with their smaller, more traditional vents as opposed to the one long one, but this feature where you could face it on your body or your head is really nice. And of course over here you have different drive modes, and Porsche has 4 different drive modes plus the individual. So there's range, of course, which is, I suspect, trying to get you as far as possible on the given power. Then there's normal, sport plus, which is going to be the let's say very fast one, and of course individual. This would not be a German car if you could not completely individualize the driving experience. And since we are in Canada, you'll note that your temperature controls are dual and in centigrade. As you guys probably know, real estate is all about location, 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 and electric cars are all about range, range, range. So let's talk about how long it takes to recharge this electric car. At your wall outlet, 120, probably forever. So it's going to take more than 24 hours to probably just get even a portion of the charge. Porsche says that this vehicle has an over 97 kilowatt hour battery, which is very similar to a Model S, which we think is about 100 kilowatts. Tesla doesn't disclose those numbers, but Tesla does disclose the fact that it has a national supercharging network, which consists of superchargers in most big cities and along the highway, so that you can actually go cross country in a Tesla. Now, Porsche, being part of the Volkswagen Group, is also building out its electrification network, and that's part of Electrify America, which is part of the VW settlement, which is now being built out. How long will it take to recharge this? It really depends. So Porsche will tell you you can go from 5% to 80% in about 20 minutes, but keep in mind that is under ideal circumstances. I figure this will probably recharge in a very typical time of anywhere from a half hour to an hour to maybe an hour and a half, depending on how much current you're putting into the vehicle. Okay guys, I'm sitting in the back seat kind of behind myself, and as you can tell at 6'2", it's a little tight on headroom. If you want that kind of sexy, slopey, coupe-like body, that's the price right there. And that is the fact that in the back seat, it's a little tight. But luckily you do have individual controls for both back seat passengers. And if you've ever been in the Panamera, I think this will feel very familiar. The shape, the interior, kind of the dimensions, in a lot of ways are very similar to that. And by the way guys, if you're thinking about bringing your little guy in the middle seat, you can't. You can tell this is a 4-passenger vehicle. No headrest except for 2 of them back here, so definitely a 4-seater, literally and figuratively. If you guys like German cars, you'll know that the latest design trend is, of course, a very thin and very long line that goes right across the back. It's very similar to a Porsche 911. And speaking of the 911, Porsche says that that car has a lower center of gravity, believe it or not. Now, you may be wondering, what's the range? Well, the EPA has not yet rated it here in America, but Porsche says that on a full battery charge, you'll be able to go 450 kilometers on the European cycle, which, by the way, is less conservative than the American cycle, so don't expect 450 miles of range. And how about availability? When is this? When can you've heard like 20,000 pre-orders.
Yeah.
When can people go and get one?
I mean, we're going to be spending some time fulfilling those pre-orders. If you want to take a look at one, some dealers should be getting theirs by December even.
So end of the year.
End of the year. We're really committed to delivering on the promise of having a battery electric Porsche performance car. And the Taycan for now is that car.
Let's see if there's anything under here. Come on. Oh, look. That's your sandwich, or in America, your handgun hiding place. And of course, here you have the frunk and the trunk, and you can open it from back here. Pretty cool stuff. And pretty cool interior. I mean, you know, this is almost like a scuba-like material. I like it. I like the wheel too, and you'll note right here, you can always tell which way is straight up when you're going around the track. And keep in mind, this is a track car. And perhaps most importantly of all, Porsche says, hey Tom, watch his videos. What is it, driven? What is that thing you're doing? Tom says that what's unusual about this car, right Tom?
Right.
What's
unusual about this car?
Is that you can repeat that 0 to 60 time over and over again with no degradation of performance or battery power. So it just will keep launching 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, over and over and over and over. So if you got to race the GTR, followed by the Tesla Model S in Ludicrous mode, followed by the McLaren 720, you can do so with confidence, knowing that you'll always have full battery performance. Let me leave you with one last number, 742. That's how long it took this Taycan to go around the Nürburgring, which is a record for an electric car. So while the Tesla Model S may still be the benchmark, at least until these two get together on a track in a straight line, Porsche says that really the magic here is that it's a car that you'll want to drive, and it's a car that you'll want to drive fast around a track. And it better be, because this bad boy will start at about $153,000 when it launches at your dealer, hopefully at the end of the year. As always, this is Roman reporting for the Fast Lane Car. Check out tflcar.com for more news, views, and of course, you saw it first. Porsche Taycan, or do you say Taycan reviews? See you guys next time. Ciao.